This is an introduction to Mango. Mango is multi-image analysis and navigation GUI, and we put O at the end to give it a nice name. The first thing you need to know is the opening dialog has a number of menus across the top, and the one that you need to get most familiar with initially is how to open images. There's a standard opening approach where this brings up a directory and you select a file. The second item is to open an online image. You'll be asked for a URL to do this. The third one allows you to open DICOM folder. Mango can open DICOM images that are not in a DICOM folder necessarily. But if somebody is giving you a CD or DVD that was made from an image or exported as DICOM, this will allow you to read that. You can open image using an image browser. This is my favorite, and I'll demonstrate this in more detail later. You can open raw image by answering a lot of questions about how the image is formatted in the file. You can add a new image which duplicates one that you already have open and potentially also copies it. So the image types that we support in Mango are Nifty, of course, the DICOM, Analyze, the older ACR NEMA, and as I said, we can open many raw images. And once they're open, we save them in one of the newer formats. In addition to opening from the standard way, we have a recent file list that you can choose from, and you can configure how long this list is. So let's open an image from this list. We see that the image opens in the standard orthogonal viewer, and in the standard size we'll open this, make it a little larger for this screen. And once we have an image open, there's several things that we want to talk about. First of all, as I move the cursor around, you'll notice over in this window it's giving you a location in X is row, Y is column, and Z is slice, so we're staying in the same slice of this image, or at least for this viewer. And this number here is the pixel or voxel value. So we can change the, we also have crosshairs that we can sort of anchor, and the crosshairs tell us where the three views are intersecting. You can, if you press and drag the mouse, you can simultaneously move them around to inspect the image. So this turns out to be fairly nice sometimes if you want to move to a particular place, and you can navigate down in the smaller images as well. So the image at the top is the image of focus for doing processing, and if it doesn't happen to be the axial, you can switch to which view you want by just hitting the space bar, and it toggles that. So also you'll notice that we provide anatomical directions. That shows up here as orientation, so we'll leave those turned on for now. We work very hard in Mango to make this correct. We read it out of the DICOM headers, we read it out of the image headers for both the ACR NEMA styles and for Nifty. So if they were encoded correctly with the images, we read them correctly, and that's extremely important in terms of left and right. If they should not be right, we give you an option to change the orientation and save it with a new orientation, with the orientation corrected. So also in terms of navigating or moving the slice planes crosshairs around, we can use the keyboards. This is left and right arrows move which slices we're viewing. This one moves through sagittal slices, that's the left and right arrow. The page up, page down arrow moves you from anterior to posterior. The up and down arrows. And then the page up and page down moves you up and down in the axial slice direction. Now this happens regardless of where we are. The arrows always move in the appropriate direction. The left and right arrow move left and right in the body. The up and down arrows move anterior and posterior. The page up always moves superior and page down inferior. And we can certainly do the same thing with the cursor, but not with quite the same precision. So this shows us how to navigate through a 3D image file. If we want to change the way it looks, that's done in the main window up here, and presently we're displaying it using a color table that's called a grayscale. We can change to a variety of other color tables. We won't do that for this image. But there are 3 handles that we can adjust. This one adjusts the black level, and presently black is set to be for 0 values in the image. We can change where we want black to be. We can change the other end is where we want white to be. And the one in the middle is where we want gray to be. And so there's a variety of ways to dealing with this. So if you've set it and you forgot what it was in the beginning, if you triple click this, it'll set it back to the beginning. And if you move it around, you like it better. If you double click this, it makes that the current range for you to work with. If there's another feature, if you hold the shift key down and grab one end, it leaves the gray level alone and just changes the range between black and white, which is basically adjusting contrast. As you move this way, it adjusts brightness. If you just grab the middle, though we're kind of limited in the range. So, we've shown how to navigate an image, and we've shown how to use the grayscale with an image. One other item to see in the beginning and to know what to do with images is how to save one. So, let's go to Save As, and it opens up a nice dialog that has 4 different tabs in it. The first tab indicates what type of image do you want to save it as. And presently, we're in this format. Let's save it as, say we want to save it in that format or that format. It tries to come up with an appropriate name for us. And as we add more save types, we'll add them in a little list down here. And also, we need to tell it the data type and the endedness type. So this is a big endian. We can change it to little endian. Usually we don't change this from what it is very much, and we tend to stay with 16-bit signed integer. And internally in Mango, when we load things, we load them into a floating point array so that we don't have problems with overflowing. So you can reslice an image. So you can change the spacing when you save it. You can change the number of voxels. And if you do such, you might want to review it. This shows where the range of how you would save the data. So, for instance, if we change this to 150, it wouldn't be big enough to cover the image. So we won't do that. But if we change it to something smaller, we'd have to change the offset. And so if we do something we really thought was dumb here, we can just reset it to what it was. So we wouldn't, in this case, since the image array seems to match up the image well, we wouldn't necessarily want to reslice it. You can apply a transform. So if you develop a transform for an image and you like it, you'd like to save it transformed in that way, you can use the transform. And when you apply a transform, you'll need to pick which type of interpolation you want depending on the quality you need. It generally improves as we move from nearest neighbor through trilinear. This will be fastest, this is fastest, next fastest, slowest. The sync interpolator preserves resolution quite well. And then we have some miscellaneous things. In particular, we like to default to use compression when we save the nifty type nifty, so we have that defaulted on. And you'll notice that we changed the label up there when we did this. And this is the orientation of the original. So we won't save it this time, but this goes over how you might go through saving a file. So this is your introduction to Mango and how to open, view, adjust, navigate, and save files.